You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
PackersTalk.com.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com network. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans who just love talking about the Pack. We are not getting into all the national sports media nonsense that they get into. We are sticking to real football, diving into the top topics around the Pack every week, breaking down games during the season and sorting through all the drama and the rumors and the draft of the offseason. If y'all want to support the podcast, please spike that like button for us. Most importantly, jump on over to YouTube, type in Packers Talk Network, hit that subscribe button for us on the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Man, that does us a great deal of good. If you're looking for a Christmas gift for your favorite Packer podcasters, that would be the one. That little subscribe button is the one we're wanting. So jump on and do that now. I know statistically speaking, when we do this thing and we tell you to go subscribe and like, you don't do it. So I'm trying to over-exaggerate here and say that we want you to do it because it's super easy. And you could have done it a few times since I've started this little rant. So I'll stop now, but go subscribe to that YouTube channel. We really, really, really would love that. And, we've got some stuff to talk about tonight. We've got, I don't know, we got to get through it. We got to get through it together. It's going to be tough, but we will. I think we will. As long as we stick together. The season doesn't have to be over, even though some people probably think it is. We don't know who those people are yet. We'll find out. There's just a lot to get to. The Bears are coming up. We still have to go to Chicago. That's not going to not happen, So we got to talk about that too. So before we get into managing some of these issues, before we get into, licking the wounds, so to speak, let's take care of some business because once again, our show is sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as Buck tickets, Brewers tickets, all those tickets. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. Remember to support all those local businesses, even Wisconsin. All right, Tim, I'm not going to ask how you are. I know how you are. We're feeling it. We're feeling it in the feels. It hurts. It still hurts. I'm still not happy about it. What are your thoughts? I'm not even going to ask how you're feeling. What are your thoughts?
Well, I woke up in the middle of the night having a dream about Micah Parsons' injury. So that kind of tells you what my thoughts and my feelings are. And it was a nightmare. And it was almost as bad as the actual nightmare that we saw in Denver. So, yeah, to go from 23-14 lead on the team with the best record in football on the road in their stadium against one of the top 2 or 3 defenses in the league where you shredded them in the first half and your quarterback looked like an MVP candidate. And you lead them 23-14, getting the ball back after a 3-and-out. And then from there, my thoughts at that point were, we got ourselves a team that's going far this year. It ain't too far. It ain't too crazy to think Super Bowl, right? 23-14, getting the ball back, feeling pretty good, feeling like this is a team. They're going far. We're going to be having a lot of games still yet to discuss. And then it all just came crashing down, and you kind of get the feeling like the season's not over. But those Super Bowl and those deep playoff hopes and dreams, that's over. It was the result of the game is secondary. Once Parsons went down, along with Zach Tom and Watson and Evan Williams, but really Parsons was the bad one because it looked horrible, and obviously it was. That was after that, I had no feelings about the game. It was still on. I was still watching it, but you knew what was going to end up happening, and it just felt like that was the end of things. This team's season is not over, but it just makes everything so incredibly hard for them now. And the impact that Parsons had on this team, on the defense, on the franchise, was incredible. He's their best player. And there's no way you replace that. You just can't. So that was a loss. I'm not going to put it up there with some of the playoff losses that they've had, because those are like end of season, rip your heart out. That's it. But for a regular season game, that was just devastating. And
I was thinking the same thing. This might be the most like high, like the most hope I've lost in a single regular season game that I can remember. Like, obviously in a playoff game, you go into it thinking the sky's the limit. You come out of it, you might be done. That's sort of the nature of the playoffs. But even this is what, week 15, right? Like, it's not like it's like that last game of the season where you're like, oh, everything's on the line. Oh, now it's all over. Man, this was just, like you said, even mid-game, you're thinking, sky's the limit. Like,
yeah,
sails are full. We're cruising, man. Things look good. And it just crumbled. It just crumbled so fast.
yeah. And it's crazy because, like, we talked about it last week. It was an important game against Denver, but if they lose that game, it's really not that big of a deal. It's an AFC team. You still got everything in front of you. You're playing the Bears this week for potentially the division. It was a game you hope to see him win, going against a really good opponent. But it's a road game. You're coming off 4 straight wins, 3 of them against your division. Like, losing that game is not the end of the world. It's just all the injuries that came with it. That's the devastating part. It's not the loss itself, which we can get into, like, the loss and why it happened and all that. But that's secondary to the injuries. And I know there's some better hope with some of those injuries today. Other than Micah Parsons, none of them seem long-term. But this is a team, there's 3 games left in the regular season. Like, even if they're not long-term, if they're 2-week injuries, that they're huge, right? Because the playoffs aren't guaranteed at this point. And your biggest impact player is now gone. And we'll see him hopefully in September at some point. But that was just it. If they would have lost the game, okay, talk about it. It's not the end of the world. They lost the game with injuries to some of their most important players. Yeah, it was one of the worst regular season losses that they've had in a long time.
We got some of the comments already sharing it with us. We got Chris the Casual In says, I am so depressed, fellas. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. I feel that too, man. As soon as it happened, even when the Packers were still leading, and it's funny because my kids are starting to pay attention now, and they want to be Packers fans, and the Packers are leading, and they just couldn't tell why I was so upset. It was like, this is not going to end well. This is just not going to end well, and it didn't. It did not. Bobby Santoro says, heartbreaking, man. And it is. You can just tell through even. After the Watson injury that this game was going to swing the way of the Broncos. And that's exactly how I felt. It's like, yep, we are winning right now, and it is short-lived. So yeah, it just, man. And now, all right, let's get the negative, the pessimistic, let's get the feels out of the way. My first thought is, going into the season, the pass rush was concerning, to say mildly.
Yeah.
And then you get Micah Parsons. But now you don't have Micah Parsons. So, all right, well, you're also depleted Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt. So if we were concerned coming into the season, Rutrow, things got worse. We're now objectively worse off. Unless you want to grant people growth, you want to say that DeMarcus Covington has had an impact and that these guys can rise up and fill the gap. Okay, I'm willing to hear it. Certainly want to be optimistic too. I don't want to sit here and root for the Packers to lose, but yeah, I mean, on paper, your pass rush is now in a worse place than it was coming into the season. So that's the part to me that just kind of stings a little bit. You're like, all right, well, but how do you argue with that? And the only way to argue with that is to say they've grown, right? Maybe they've learned some things from some guys, even from Parsons, right? Maybe Baron Sorrell's in there learning things from Parsons. I don't know, but that's where my immediate dark thoughts go.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. And they're now number one pass rusher, supposed to be Rashawn Gary. And over the last 7 games, he has 0 sacks and 0 tackles for loss. After starting off the season great with 7.5 sacks, I think in the first 7 games or whatever it was. A lot of those helped.
And not to diminish that, but that was because of Micah Parsons.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. A lot of that helped by Micah Parsons. And he still has Micah Parsons, and now he's not producing over the last 7 games. He's got to be the guy now. And we have 7 games of proof that he's not playing well. Like he's struggling. And that's been an ongoing issue, but Parsons covers it up, and now Parsons isn't there to cover it up. So who's the next guy? And you mentioned Devontae Wyatt's out, so there goes your interior pass rush. And I think they're struggling inside too to generate a pass rush. They just don't have anybody. Carl Brooks isn't getting the job done. Everybody else inside is a run stuffer. So what do? Van Ness just is getting back, and didn't.
He's reading the tweets though. Van Ness is reading the tweets.
And good for I thought he was playing well. I know he had whatever it was, a sack and a half before he got hurt, but he was actually playing really good football.
He was.
But he got hurt and he's missed a lot of time. And yesterday he ended up, I think in the first half he only had like 3 snaps, but then in the second half they had to play him more because Parsons went down. So he's going to be forced to be in there whether he's ready for it or not. It's a shame that he's in that situation because everybody's going to be judging him on what he does, and he's definitely not 100%. And he's definitely got to work himself back into it, but there's no time for that. He has to produce. And Igbari's got to produce. Sorrell. I think we're going to see Brenton Cox come off of injured reserve and take Parsons' spot.
I thought he was having a good season before he got hurt. Brenton Cox, he's one that I think is kind of a sneaky one coming back.
He played decent down the stretch last year. Remember after they traded Preston and Preston Smith, and he had to get.
That's right. Snaps. That's right.
Yeah, so maybe you get Cox to give you some kind of a boot. It's going to have to be everybody. They're all going to have to step up and start producing. But this is going to fall on Jeff Hafley and the coaching staff. It's time to get creative. There's no Parsons there to just, all right, Micah, go get the quarterback. Go be the closer in the fourth quarter. You don't have that. So you better get creative. And he had to do different things last year because they didn't have a consistent pass rush. He was sending Quay Walker. He was sending Edgerrin Cooper a lot more. They were playing more cover 2 to try to help out the corners. I think he's going to have to get back to what they were doing more last year with the defense. I think you can't play the same way because you don't have Micah Parsons there. So figure it out,
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Jeff Hafley being a future head coach in the NFL. Go prove it. Go earn it. I know we don't want to lose him, but go prove it and go earn that right. This is the time. You lost your best player. What can you do? You can't just fall apart like the defense did yesterday. He's got to get creative.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, that's where you kind of get nervous, but also there's room for us to see things we don't expect, right? There's room for the unexpected to come out because we're going to see these guys have to change something. You don't just subtract Micah Parsons and not change something. You have to change something. So whether that works or not remains to be seen. But if it works, all right, well, shoot. Now we're cooking with peanut oil again. And I think that one thing, where it is easy to go doom and gloom on everybody, you got to swing back in the other direction and think about some of the positives that remain, right? Everybody was shouting all pro for Edgerrin Cooper coming into the season because of the way he played last season. I think some of that got a little bit quelled by the presence of Micah Parsons because you have to operate differently. And what you're saying, they had to use Edgerrin Cooper differently last season because it was out of necessity. So now it's all right, well, Edgerrin Cooper hasn't gotten worse. I don't think he's gotten worse. He hasn't had a flashy season, but the man's still playing some high-level football. So if you got to rely on him more, you got to rely on some of your other guys more. I think you can. All right. I think there's room for that to work. but it depends on who and how much, right? So if you're going to say, hey, all right, time to rely on the DBs. Oh, pump the brakes there. Hold on a second. Let's not go that far.
No,
Or if you're going to say, all right, time to rely on that interior D line. Oh, pump the brakes here. Hang on. Let's acknowledge the weaknesses and go and focus on the strengths. Right now, your highest graded player on the defense from that game was Xavier McKinney, right? So he's still there. You got to rely on your guys that are playmakers like Xavier McKinney, like Quay Walker, like Edgerrin Cooper, to make plays. Last year, Xavier McKinney was averaging, or for a while, had the stretch of an interception a game. We got to get, to some extent, he's got to feel like that's his responsibility again. And when you have a Micah Parsons in front of you, it's not necessarily your responsibility to be the guy on every play. You just got to not screw up. So, and not to say that that's all Xavier McKinney's going out there and doing, but it's just you play differently whenever certain players are around you, and now we got to see what this coaching staff is made of on the defense. I will say, if there is good news on that front, this coaching staff has objectively gotten better last season over this season by DeMarcus Covington. Well, I guess you could maybe make the argument that you lost your linebacker coach. What was his name? Yeah. So, but there's maybe some arguments to be made, but I think that the coaching staff is better this year over last year. Defense wise, offense is probably about the same. But yeah, Halfley, you're right. Like, if you want to win a head coaching job, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to step up. So maybe halfway, I'm not rooting for him on that. No, stumble a little bit. Make us win games, 45-40.
I think Cooper's got to be one of the difference makers now. Like, I think he's played fine this year. He just, like you said, he hasn't had the flash plays that we saw last year. Now you got to unleash him. Like, you need him more attacking the line of scrimmage and trying to penetrate into the backfield, because he's going to have to rush the passer. They're not going to, unless something drastically changes, they're not going to have a consistent pass rush right now. So you're going to have to be bringing extra guys, and that's Cooper, that's Quay Walker, that's maybe your DBs at times. And you're going to have to play coverages that are a little bit different to protect those cornerbacks, because you're not going to have somebody getting home as quick as Micah Parsons was. And we saw yesterday how bad those cornerbacks can play, because Valentine and Nixon were awful against the Broncos. You got to protect those guys. And the other thing, that if they could just catch the interceptions, right? Like,
you're talking about a
three or four of them. They dropped 3 or 4 of them in that game against the Broncos. The Broncos caught their 2 chances. Packers catch theirs, they win that game. And it's kind of been that way all year. Like, they just can't come down with it. I think Nixon has the only interception by a corner, I believe. I think they have 7 as a team on the year. Like, McKinney had 8 just by himself last season. Like, that could really help your defense, even if they're not playing as good. If you start getting those takeaways, right? Because that can mask some of your problems. Turn the ball over, right? And they haven't done it all year, so I'm not like counting on it. But that's one of the things. Like, okay, if you're not going to get there with the pass rush, and you're not going to be as good because Micah Parsons is in there, maybe you can get a little lucky or just start making the plays that hit you in the hands, like some of these dropped interceptions that they've had throughout the year. And that's one thing. And the other thing is, the offense is going to have to score a lot of points, because I think they're going to be in some shootouts now. And what the offense did in the first half against the Broncos was outstanding. Like, that Denver defense is one of the 2 or 3 best defenses in football. And Jordan Love absolutely shredded them in the first half. And, we talked a month ago now at this point about how Matt LaFleur was too conservative. And everybody's complaining he's too conservative, he's not aggressive enough. We've seen, really, since the Thanksgiving game, he's flipped the switch. And he didn't care that they were going out there against one of the top defenses. Like, the ball was in Jordan Love's hands in the first half, and he was throwing the ball, and he was throwing it downfield. And it was crazy. Like, if you would have said...
Everything changed when Watson got hurt.
Yeah, and if you would have said coming into the game, like, they're going to push the ball down the field, Jordan Love's going to be throwing the ball, I would have been like, I don't know if that's such a good idea against this defense. But instead, he throws for a career high in yardage in the first half and was just tearing them up. It was awesome. But that's going to have to continue. And it changed when Watson went out, but it changed when Zach Tom went out too. losing your best offensive line was huge. I thought Kennard was okay as the game went on, and especially once the Broncos took the lead, they were just teeing off. So I don't know if it was so much Kennard. I feel like there was pressure coming from Belton. Rasheed Walker had a bad game.
To tell the story on the PFF grades, Kennard was actually by a pretty wide shot your best graded offensive lineman. The rest were pretty bad. You got Belton, Banks, Ryan, Walker, all right next to each other in the 50s, all graded in the 50s. So, and pass blocking was ugly for a couple of them in the 20s and 30s. So yeah,
it was the worst. It was the worst game of the season as far as pressures go against Jordan Love, and for him to play that well, and he was getting pressures in the first half too, but he was just able to make those throws. In the second half, without your top guy, and then without Zach Tom, it was too much. And yet, he could have played better. There's throws that he missed, absolutely, but and his receivers dropped some passes again. We saw that pop up in the second half, but the protection was it was bad. The Broncos were all over him, and the pass that Watson got hurt on, I know everybody's all over that. I don't get it because I think the pass was really damn good. He had to avoid immediate pressure. Belton he let his guy blow right by him, step up, and then as he's throwing, Jordan Love got blown up on the play. And the pass was still there. Surtain just made an incredible interception on it.
Great play. But
people were trying to blame Jordan Love for that. I don't see that. But really after that play, he was under fire constantly. And they were having trouble finding anybody to get open. And then some of the passes were being dropped. And yeah, you can see the difference that Christian Watson makes for the team. So hopefully he's able to get back. And if he can, they're going to have to score a lot of points. This is an offense that now, I don't want to say they were getting bailed out by their defense, but they were able to have their struggles and still come through with some victories, or at least, be there with the opportunity to win the game because their defense was holding the other team down. That's not going to be the case now. You're going to have to put up points. So the running game needs to get going more consistently, and they're just going to have to score a lot of points. Jordan Love and the receivers are going to have to look a lot like they did in the first half against Denver. That's what can help your defense out, and you're going to have to win the shootouts.
Well, fortunately, this is the time of year they've done that, and there has been a bit of a pattern, kind of rely on the defense early in the season and then flip the script later in the season. Yeah, that's what you got to do. It's going to be real interesting to see how that goes. Now, there's a string of factors here that also went along. So, what are some positives to look at, to take away? First of all, you mentioned a couple of the injuries are not as bad. It's being reported Christian Watson could even have a chance to play this week against the Bears, which I think would be huge. LaFleur just seems to call the game differently when he has Watson in there, in my opinion. I just didn't feel like the game was called even as well. After he went down, it felt very panicky, but having him in there is going to be a big deal. And I would even say bigger than Zach Tom because of Kennard's ability to step in and fill in for him. Not that he's not an important piece. He's one of the best right tackles in the league, but it's not the end of the world if you go a week without him. It doesn't look like. I'd be more concerned about the other guys who didn't get hurt and just didn't play very well. So Christian Watson not being hurt as bad, Zach Tom not being as hurt as bad is great. Evan Williams, it sounds like, could be 1 to 2 weeks. But positives, again, a lot of factors at play here. The altitude, definitely a factor. There were guys sucking on oxygen. Good news is they'll be in great shape when they get back. So this week against Chicago, maybe they'll be a little extra better conditioned. But yeah, then I heard Emmanuel Wilson also had an illness, it sounded like. And that made a lot of sense because when he did play, this was before I knew he was sick. I was like, what the hell is wrong with him? Like, he just didn't look, didn't look like Emmanuel Wilson at all. I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Get that guy out of there. So when I found out he was sick, that made a lot of sense. He did not have a good game. There's obviously the injuries, but there's a lot at play in that game. And again, before the injuries, it looked good. The ball, you were moving the ball, you were in control of the game. It looked good. They were protecting the ball. That was one of the most important things, and I think still is, and a lot of people are starting to shift their attitude to say, we got Jordan Love, so we got a chance. And I love that, man, because this is the first time that I'm hearing that sentiment from fans. That it's like, oh, well, Jordan loves that guy though. So since we got him, we're still okay. It's like, maybe I believe that too. I kind of like that thought. This is not something that I felt like people were sharing, in the seasons before, even, when you march into Dallas and do what he did to Dallas a couple years ago. So, I kind of agree with that sentiment, but I'm also willing to believe that, guys have grown throughout the season. You're 2 years into the Halfley system instead of 1. I just think there's an ability here to adapt to this situation better than you would have last season. So I don't know. I'm believing and betting on their ability to adapt here, and hoping that can happen. Because again, knowing what we know or have known in the past, this team's not good when they don't have a pass rush and they need it. That's not, the games just kind of slip away when you can't put pressure on the quarterback. And so that really concerns me. And then the idea of being without Watson concerns me, because then I start to think about what you were talking about before. Well, a month ago, we're calling on LaFleur, hey, you're not being aggressive enough. You're being too conservative. I feel like that's what he does when he doesn't have Watson in there for some reason. So we'll see. We also got to believe in the growth of Matthew Golden, right? He's got to step up in some capacity here too. And he actually had a pretty good game. He didn't get too heavily involved, had a good PFF grade, did have a couple catches, but that I thought was a good sign that maybe this next week he'll get ramped up even more.
I hope so, because he did look good. And I think he needs to be taking some reps away from Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks, because they haven't looked good. And the Wicks one is, we didn't know the whole. Yeah, it's disappointing because coming off Thanksgiving, he looked great. But apparently in the Thanksgiving game on one of the touchdowns, he hurt his ankle, rolled his ankle. So then that
ankles
made
are
sense.
Tough, man.
Yeah, so then the Bears game, he played, I think it was like 5 or 6 snaps. And it was like, well, what the hell happened? Like, why is he out of the rotation after he just played great? And it comes out later, like, okay, he was playing for an ankle injury. So it made sense, but struggled, I thought, against the Broncos. The one interception that, the throw was behind him, but he got his hands on it. Got to come down with it, and it was an interception. And then Romeo Doubs, maybe not so much the Denver game, but he just, I don't, since Watson's come back, he's just been almost invisible. Like he's not, and I know Watson's played really well, but he just looks like slower. He looks like he's running in quicksand or something to me, and he hasn't been there. Like early in the year, Jordan's hitting him in the red zone, and he's hitting him on third downs and stuff like that, and looking his way, and it just doesn't seem like he's winning, and he's certainly not winning quick or anything like that. He's not getting separation. Like, I don't know. He doesn't look like the same receiver he did early in the year. So if they don't have Watson, it's a huge loss, because right now none of those other guys are playing well. And Golden's just getting back from being out for a while with 2 different injuries, and he's a rookie trying to adapt. So I give him a pass a little bit. But Dobbs, I really don't at this point. So yeah, you need Watson, and I think you need to start getting Matthew Golden more involved. And I like that yesterday they were getting him involved down the field, or at least intermediate areas more, and not so much what we saw earlier in the year where he was kind of like catching it around the line of scrimmage, and they were trying to use him almost as a gadget guy. Like, that's not his game. Like, let him run routes and win, because he can. And the one route that he won, he completely turned around the quarterback. Like, the quarterback thought was bailing, thinking he was going deep, and he just cut it off, ran a dig route, and was wide open over the middle. Jordan hit him. That's the kind of stuff he can do. Let the other guys, let Jade Reed do some of the gadget stuff that they like to run. But yeah, you need Golden. You need more Golden. Obviously Watson, and then Reed, and then whatever, if Wicks gets hot or Dobbs is hot for a game, great. But I think the primary guys should be Watson, Reed, and Golden at this point.
Yeah, that's how it feels like it's shaping out. When the money gets involved, I think that's how the cards will fall. Um, but the other thing is you're making that point. It's like there's a lot of mouths to feed, and even now, like, yeah, Tucker Kraft is out, but you're not going to stop feeding the tight ends like Musgrave and just kind of fill in the tight end position. They're going to take some of those targets and they Musgrave's doing a good job. He's not going to get the yak, but he's making some catches. We're just going to leave the yak situation alone. We just accept he's not yakking. We're not getting the yak out of Musgrave, but if we get some of those acrobatic catches and clutch situations, I'll take it. So, you got Musgrave, you got mouths to feed, you got, Reed back, you got Golden is somebody that you got to believe that they're feeling pressure to get him in there. But also if he's dealing with a nagging injury, now is not the time to force him in there with an injury. It's like, dude, you got enough bodies on the field. Just go with that until he's ready to go. So I get it. I'm not as much in a hurry to see Golden out there. I think if there was an issue, there would be more evidence of that. I don't think there's an issue. I think he's a rookie. He's an injured rookie, right? Like if you're a rookie, you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, right? Like if we're looking at what Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson did as rookies and expecting that, we'll get some perspective because what they did was historic, right? So you don't get history with every rookie receiver, it's too bad, but we don't get it. So yeah, I'm okay with that. Like look at what happened with Devontae, right? It took him a few years and he became the best receiver in the league for the Packers for several years. So it's like, if that's the process, I'm okay with it. If you're going to tell me, hey, slow down with Golden, but he's going to be the best receiver in the league in a few years, deal. You got it. I'll be patient. But yeah, so I look at it that way. And it's, again, it's not like you're putting bums out on the field. We're sitting here talking about Romeo Doubs as like kind of the fourth guy in line, and he's not bad, and Savion Williams hasn't entered the chat yet either. So there's a lot there. There's a lot of mouths to feed. And I think sometimes it really, as much as the media doesn't like it when LaFleur says it, it's like, it kind of depends on the game plan, right? You're going to exploit the defense in different ways every week because you got different defenses every week. And some defenses, while they may be similar systems, are going to have different vulnerabilities in different places. You're going up against strong linebackers one week, going up against weak linebackers another week. Just things like that. You're just going to have different ways of getting the ball down the field is the way that they look at it. And sometimes it's, let's send the speedsters deep and air raid it out. And sometimes it's going to be, let Josh Jacobs pound them for a while until they're sick of tackling him, and then we'll pop one with a play action, something like that. I mean, it just kind of varies week by week. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me nearly as much, but this does feel like a good time to see Matthew Golden flash some of that potential comeback. He's got one game under his belt from the injury. Hopefully the injury's, about as 100% can get this time of year. And we can see at least a threat of his speed. Like when Christian Watson came out in that first game against Minnesota, and he's going against Pat Peterson, and he drops the deep ball. He dropped it, but damn, everybody took notice of that man's speed at that point in the game, like across the league. And I want that moment for Golden. Not that he would drop the ball, but like hopefully he catches the ball.
Yeah, catch it.
But I want that moment where it's like everybody just looks like, oh, he's going to be a problem. Like I think we get that. You could beat the Bears, right? Just you get that one thing, you could probably beat the Bears. But yeah, like this offense, the thing that we got at least me personally got so excited about in the offseason, thinking about these guys playing together this season, is the speed, the athleticism. Like Packers fans, we've had some great offenses that we've gotten to watch over the years, but it wasn't necessarily because you had the best athletes on the field. You know what I mean? Like Jordy Nelson wasn't, he didn't have a 40-inch vertical. There's a lot of guys running 4.5 and 4.6 on those good teams 10, 15 years ago. A lot of guys with 32, 33, 34-inch verticals. you've never, I don't think, no, I think it's pretty safe to say you've never had a stable of multiple guys running 4-3. Never had that. Not legitimate threats. Now, maybe you've had some speedsters that just couldn't play football or something, but their whole stable, like if you're running a 4-5, you're slow in that room, which I think that's, Dobbs is about a 4-4, 4-5 kind of guy, which is fine. That's what Devontae Adams is, a 4-5 guy. But the fun part about this offense is the freaky athleticism. Jaden Reed can jump out of the gym. He's got twitchy. He's not top end speed, but he's got twitchy speed. Obviously, Christian Watson, I think he's one of the fastest guys in the league, and I think Golden's probably right up there with him. But I want to see that threat cut loose. Like I want to see the defense just terrified because they can't keep up with the track team. And we saw flashes of that with the Chiefs several years ago when they had Tyreek Hill and all of that. And I guess I'm asking for all this. The Dolphins basically had what I asked for and it didn't work. Like they had the track team down there and it all fell apart. So maybe I should be careful what I wish for. But that where we're at in the season, yeah, you're gonna have to score some points. Let's launch some firepower, man. Send these dudes down the field. So that's where my head's at. Onward and upward, I don't know if I'll get what I want, but
they're gonna have to score some points going forward. Take advantage of what they have at receiver and with the speed receivers and Josh Jacobs. You got to ride Josh Jacobs. I know the running game hasn't been consistent this year, but he's a really good back, and he showed that against the Broncos. Barely practiced all week. Didn't know if he was going to play or not. He goes out there. Great touchdown catch, big touchdown run that was blocked very nicely for him. But, he looked good when he wasn't getting blown up behind the line of scrimmage because they weren't blocking Broncos. And there were too many TFLs or right around the line of scrimmage. When he had a chance, he looked good. And they got to give him that chance up front. The run blocking's got to be better. And if it is, ride Josh Jacobs. That can help your offense. That can help your defense. Keep them off the field. But, yeah, I thought the way he came out there and played coming through his injury, fighting through the knee injury that he's been dealing with. When it didn't.
Making that catch. What a catch, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's only his second career touchdown catch. Not known as a pass catcher, but, man, that was a hell of a catch. Linebacker all over him, kept his feet in bounds. Yeah, I give him a lot of credit. The dude's tough as hell. And he's, he means a lot to their team and to their offense and never wants to come off the field, doesn't want to miss a game. The dude is like, you want a whole team of Josh Jacobs, And so if they can get the running game going a little more consistently, that will open up the offense as well. And they're going to have to score a lot of points because there's going to be a big drop-off on defense without Micah Parsons, obviously.
Yeah, big time. And that's where I say, they got to be prepared to outscore teams. And so let's shift on to the Bears. We got a Bears troll in the chat here, so I thought I'd leave a little message up here for him. The Bears do still indeed suck, so let's not forget that important fact here. But I'll give this Bears fan a little attention. Extreme TJ97. The Iceman is going to be waiting for you, cheeseheads. Who the heck is the Iceman? Is this like 9 all over again? Who is the Iceman?
I don't know. I guess it's Caleb Williams.
Ain't no way. You about to tell me Caleb Williams is the Iceman? You're giving him that kind of a nick? Good Lord. You guys are asking to get pulverized. The Iceman? Holy crap. You Bears fans, come get your friend. He's embarrassing you guys. Yeah. All right. So back down to earth. We've had our little pity party about losing a great player, and that's fine and all. But the Bears do still suck, and we got to go play to Chicago, which we got to go collect rent from these nerds because we are the owners, and we're the only team in the North who is undefeated in the North, right? In fact, the Bears are 1-3 in the North. The Lions are 1-3 in the North, and the Vikings are the only ones who are out of contention. Are actually 2-2 in the North. So you Bears fans, you guys got a big mouth, and I get it. You just beat the Browns. Good job. So what? Good Lord, guys. yeah, the Packers stumbled against them early on in the season in a kind of a weird game, totally different situation, very different teams, different quarterback. They traded the quarterback since then. Like, if you're going to get all excited about beating Shedeur Sanders on a cold day, come on now. Like, you guys, it's not going to be that easy. Like, it'll be a game, but it's not going to be that easy. Like, you guys are over your skis, and I hope every Bears player comes in that game over his skis, because he's going to fall right on his face. And that's kind of where I'm sitting with this game. I really do feel like this could almost be a trap game for the Bears, because we understand how much these games mean to him now. We got Ben Johnson running his mouth. Caleb, this means a lot to him. It means a lot to all of them. And, they saw exactly what happened. They just got a big old win, big lopsided win, feeling good, feeling big. You see your rival just got handicapped. Ooh, nobody cheers for injuries. I get it. But you're a little excited that you don't have Micah Parsons to worry about. Pretty sure about that. So, yeah, I think they'll come in a little bit over their skis, and that's an opportunity for the Packers to just pop them in the mouth. So, this is where, like, objectively on paper, it's a tough argument to make, right? Like, I get real sad. But, when you start talking about how guys do in certain situations, situationally, things are a little different for the Packers. Matt LaFleur is a pretty good underdog. He does the underdog thing really well. He doesn't do the favorite thing very well. So there's that. But he also travels pretty well whenever he's handicapped. When he's down on a short week and he's got to go travel against a good team, he does well. So I don't know, man. Maybe go into Soldier Field and just knock the Bears around a little bit. Am I being delusional now, Tim? Set me straight here.
No, it could happen. Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody's going to be counting the Packers out. Nobody's going to be feeling sorry for them. Obviously the vibe around the team is completely different right now, and it's going to be from here on out because of the injuries, especially Micah Parsons. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that could happen, is that the Bears are a little overconfident. They feel pretty good that they played the Packers close at Lambeau, and the Packers are coming off a game where they lost, and they lost some key players, including their best player. This is a big game for them. They really want this one. It's in their stadium. They really wanted the first one at Lambeau, so they want this one even more now. And yeah, I think there's a sense of maybe they're a little bit overconfident, or they're going to be a little bit overhyped for this game and too emotional. And I think the Packers, it's time to dial in. Like, all right, who knows who's going to be available this week with all the injuries? You're not getting Micah back. But, dial in. Like, show that you're still a really good team. Show that you're not a one-man team. And guys are going to have to step up. And it's you against the world. Nobody's feeling sorry for you. Everybody's counting you out. Go prove them wrong. It's a national TV game, Saturday night, division rival. You win the game, or whoever wins the game is probably going to win the division. I wouldn't surprise me if the Packers go down there and win. This is the kind of game that they've won before. Before hell, they won these type of games. They were known for winning these type of games with McCarthy, where they were the underdog and everybody was counting them out and overlooking them. And, there's a lot of negativity surrounding it, and everybody's down on the team. And then they go and they beat a team that they're not supposed to beat. Right. So, yeah, it absolutely can happen. I could definitely see that happening. It's going to take a lot of work, and they're probably going to, I don't know if they're going to be the underdogs in the game or not, but they probably should be going into it. And I get that. But yeah, it's realistic. They can go down there and beat the Bears.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because we like to play along and acknowledge the 2010 parallels that have been showing up all along the way. And I just remember, going at the end of that season, going into the playoffs, thinking, probably lose to the Eagles. It just didn't feel great, right? It just kind of felt like, too many injuries, not the right time, whatever. You went down to Atlanta a few weeks ago, almost won, but didn't. And So it's, yeah, like I'm looking at this, like everybody's let down. Now you're the underdog. And again, like that's what they're good at. They're good at being the underdog. And I don't know if there's a different level of focus that comes along with that, but it just, that has been very, very consistently true. So there's definitely reason to go, all right, hang on a second. Maybe the sky's not falling, you know. Obviously having Micah Parsons it's just one of those things where it's like, dang, man, you got a shot in any game, you got a shot at any moment. They have to be, the other team has to be on their best every down with him coming after him. And let's we got some Bears fans here. I'll engage with you guys. We got one here, entrenched trader said, to be fair, Parsons didn't have a sack versus us. Fine, but
I think
your entire game plan was based on him. So there's that.
I think he had like 7 or 8 pressures, but okay, he didn't have a sack.
That's the thing, is like he doesn't have to get a sack. Your game plan is geared around stopping him. Like that's just true. So if you watch the games, it's evident. But there's that where you might catch a team over their skis on this one. Because and we saw it, while we're talking about the Browns, we saw that was the recipe for teams, like the Browns, to try to keep the Packers close and to be able to beat them, is to not allow Micah Parsons or the Packers pass rush enough time to be effective, right? Maybe they're winning their one-on-ones. Doesn't matter if the ball is just immediately coming out in 2 seconds and under 3 seconds. So you can render them, less than effective if you're talking about sacks. But if your whole game plan is built around not letting that guy get to you, yeah, he already got to you. Like that's already there's already an effect there. You've already eliminated part of your playbook because you don't have enough time to use it. So now that becomes open, right? And that may not just be a good thing, right? That sure, like there's other options you have to consider to defend. But now if Ben Johnson all of a sudden says, okay, well, we don't have Micah Parsons forcing us to throw it in 2 seconds. Let's try some of these longer developing things. Let's see if Caleb can get going. Let's read a progression. And all of a sudden, you don't need 2 seconds, but Gary and Igbari will get there in 3 to 4 seconds. They can still get there. And hopefully you might catch them saying, hey, all right, we don't think you can get there, and giving you a chance to get there. That's kind of where I'm going with it. Is they're also probably looking at the Packers DBs going, hey, let's pick on these fools. We got time because Parsons isn't there. These guys don't look great. Let's try to pick on them a little bit. And that's where it's like, all right, but we still do have guys. Like LVN's still out there. Gary's supposed to be good, right? Like you can't just say we don't have guys just because you don't have Parsons. So you can catch kind of that counter move. And this is where the chess match really comes into play. We don't know who's going to do what. I don't know that they're going to come out and try that, but I could see them doing it, right? Like, and we catch coaches all the time, over coaching and overthinking and kind of getting in their own way because of it. I could totally see that happening here.
Yeah, I mean, Parsons completely changes what the Bears' game plan could be. And we talked about this last week, like what we saw the Bears do offensively in the second half, where it was heavy early down play action, run the ball up the middle, move Caleb out of the pocket. Like they were protecting their quarterback, but they were also protecting against Micah Parsons. That's completely what I expected their game plan to be from the start in this game. But now without Parsons, maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe they're fine letting him drop back and throw the ball from the pocket because they know there's not a high threat of a pass rush getting to them. Now, maybe Sean Gary or Nick Barre or someone else wins, or the blitzes that Hafley may have to send get home and changes things. But they may be more than comfortable opening it up a little more than what we saw in the second half of the first game. Right. And they were very effective, obviously, in the second half of that game. But it was a lot of they weren't doing much drop back straight passes. It was all play action to give him time to hold up the pass rush and hold up the linebackers so that he could complete passes. And then it was just pounding it on the ground. So I would think they start that way, what they did in the second half. But they may find that they can drop back without a threat of a pass rush and attack the Packers that way. And it's going to be tough to stop them, admittedly. And if they're going to target our cornerbacks, I mean, we saw cornerbacks get targeted by Bo Nix and the Broncos, and they didn't hold up very well. So, yeah, it really opens up the entire game plan for what the Bears can do. And that's,
well, to be fair, they got attacked by Sean Payton and the Broncos. Bo Nix is just a piece of that.
yeah,
I
but
think
Bo Nix,
Sean Payton's mind was responsible for a little bit more of it, I'll say.
yeah, absolutely, and he dominated Jeff Hadley, right? Like that was not a good Jeff Hadley game.
He won.
And I'm not a big Bo Nix fan, but he played a really good game for them. So, like, I surprisingly
he didn't play bad, yeah.
But they couldn't cover Cortland Sutton. They hit Valentine couldn't cover him, Nixon couldn't cover him, and yeah, and Peyton had a great game plan. But Ben Johnson's capable of having a great game plan too, and Caleb Williams is capable of having a really good game, just like Bo Nix was. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I still think they may start with the play action and try and establish the run early. But I think they're going to be much more aggressive, dropping back, staying in the pocket, trying to throw the ball than they were in the first game because there's no Micah Parsons there.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see, but there's a lot of ways this could go. So as much as we want to push that panic button and say, oh, it's all over, there's definitely a lot of ways this could go, and it definitely it's not over. It's just definitely not over. You got to go to Chicago, and the Packers. At least I believe. I think they're looking forward to a trip to Chicago here. I think that they've had success there, and this is a good, quick bounce back to say, let's go, let's collect ourselves, and let's let everybody know this team hasn't gone anywhere. So good opportunity here for LaFleur to rally the troops and bounce back, get that win, take the North, and march on. Will you be a one and done in the playoffs? Maybe you will, and that's just kind of the reality of it. But it's not all doom and gloom. You get these guys back next year. You're getting guys back next year. You're not getting everybody back next year, but you're getting guys back next year, and Parsons will be back. I think Parsons will have a Watson-like return from his injury. So we can't be all down about this because, again, like these guys are going to go to work, right? You got playmakers. You got Jordan Love. You got a lot of reasons to say, hey, they go down there and win this game in Chicago. Things look pretty good. So, yeah. And then, what is with all these Bears fans in the chat? Where are my Packers fans?
They're celebrating an injury.
What is going on here? Going on here?
They're happy that Parsons got hurt, so they got to come on here and they're talking because they feel really good about their chances this week. No Micah Parsons, right? But it was funny because last week we didn't hear from them after they lost to the Packers.
No.
Typical Bears.
No. Well, the ones that we did hear from it was, we played y'all close though. That Paul Walker energy. I almost had you.
Moral victories.
Good Lord. Yeah, man. But anyway, all right. So let's get into what's it going to take here. What do the Packers need to do? What's the prediction? What's going to happen here?
So they got to score points offensively. I think they're going to have to score a bunch of points. And the first game, Dennis Allen blitzed, and the Packers were tearing up the blitz, right? So I would expect they're not going to blitz too much in this game, and they're going to try to sit back and maybe they still like to play man coverage, but maybe a little bit less man and definitely less blitzing. So Ken LaFleur and Jordan Love counteract that. They beat them when they were getting man coverage. They beat the blitz in the first matchup. So how do you counter it? Because I can't imagine Dennis Allen goes into this game and goes, yeah, they beat our blitz the first time, but I'm going to keep sending guys after him, and we're going to get him this time. Maybe he will, and if he does, cool, because I think the Packers are going to tear it up again. If he sits back and plays a little bit more conservative, then can the receivers win? Can they win quickly? And can the running game get going, right? So to me, it would be huge if they can get the running game going, if Jacobs has a big game, because that will open up other things. Plus, it's going to give you longer possessions and help out your defense. The receivers are going to have to make plays in the passing game, right? And Jordan Love's going to have to play really well again, but your receivers are going to have to help him out. Because I don't expect them to be left one-on-one as much as they were in the first game. So if Watson's in there, awesome, it's huge. If he's not, That's a really big loss. Who can step up? Can it be Reed? Can it be Golden? Can it be Wicks or Dobbs? We'll see. But your receivers are going to have to make plays. There's no more of these balls getting bouncing off their hands and getting intercepted. No more drops. Like, it's time to step up. But let's see the Packers game plan against a different approach that I'm expecting to see from Dennis Allen and the Bears. And then defensively, I think it starts with stopping the run. Like, I don't expect them to have a pass rush in this game, right? So you're going to have to counter that with maybe confusing Caleb Williams with some of your coverages and stuff like that. You're going to have to be a little more aggressive with sending blitzes. They don't like to blitz a whole lot, Packers, but that's because they had Parsons. Now that they don't, you're going to have to get more aggressive sending guys. But it starts with stopping the run, because if you can't stop the run and then you don't have a pass rush, forget about it. Like, you're going to give up points. You're not going to be able to get off the field, and it's going to make the offense have to score constantly. But if they can contain the run and at least have that part of the game in check, that gives you a fighting chance defensively to make some things happen and to hopefully confuse them on the back end, maybe come away with some of those interceptions that they've dropped this year. I think that's where it starts. Stop the run defensively, and hope that Hafley and the scheme can protect the cornerbacks and protect the pass rush.
All right, so are we winning this game?
I'm not going to pick the Bears. Like, come on.
What's the score?
Whew. I'll say 30-27. Packers.
30-27. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Good classic matchup. All right, you Bears fans going to be taking up room in the chat. At least bring in some predictions. Give us some score predictions you guys got. What do you think is going to happen from your perspective? You guys think it's going to be a big blowout for the Bears? What do you got? Bring it on. We'll bring it all. But I think you're right. You got to stop the run, man. You have to. Jeff Hafley's got to take what he saw in the first round, with this game a couple weeks ago, and you have to go after Caleb. You've got to figure out, what makes him off balance, uneasy, whatever it is. You've got to confuse him. Whatever it's got to be, you got to keep him off balance, and you got to be creative about it. We don't have the answers. We're not in the building, but I think it's an advantage that you played this team 2 weeks ago. You got to see what was going on. You got to see how they were exploiting you. And yeah, I think you got to stuff the run and force Caleb to beat you. And maybe Caleb can have a decent game, but can he beat you? Right? Like, that's really what it is. It's like, all right, you put up some stats, you have some good plays, you'll score some points, but can you beat me? That's my question. And if I'm Jeff Hafley, I'm saying no. Your running backs could beat me. If I let your running backs beat me, they can beat me. But I can't let Caleb Williams beat me. So that's where I'd be, on the defense. Stop the run. See if Caleb can do it with his arm and turn it into a chess match and try to confuse him. But on the offense, man, this is one of those games where I think, like, if you win the coin toss, you take the ball first, right? Like, you want to get 7 points as fast as possible. That's first thing. Put them behind the 8 ball and put the pressure on right away. And how you do it, I don't really care, right? Like, it's that time of year. Like, yeah, I want people afraid of tackling Josh Jacobs. Fourth quarter in the cold. That's a tough assignment to try to tackle that man after you've been doing it all day. I also want to see the track meet. Like, I want to see that, these guys can't keep up with your speed. Yeah, maybe they can take your top guy out. Maybe they take your top 2 guys out. When you got multiple guys running 4.3 speed, you got Bo Melton there too. All these dudes are 4.3, 4.2 speed. Not everybody can hang with that. Somebody's gonna lose that match, and that's what I want to see. Like, stretch them out as a defense. Stretch them out vertically, horizontally. Make them tired, right? So that it's harder to think. Like that. That's what I'd be thinking. Jordan Love's got it, dude. Like, they struggled to stop Jordan Love. So I don't think that the Bears defense, especially after playing the Broncos defense, I don't think the Bears defense is all of a sudden just going to step up and be able to stop Jordan Love. Like, I just don't see that happening. He's dealing right now. And yeah, so is it I think it's a shootout. I think they'll score points. The Bears are going to score points, but can they beat you? Right. So I'm kind of with you. I'll go a little bit higher on it. I think it's a shootout. I'm going to say 38-34. You get the win. It's kind of a back and forth, and you get that last touchdown, and there's not enough time. So that would be my prediction, that like 38-34. I'm sure I riled y'all up in the Bears fans, but have fun with that. We'll see. It's definitely a different season now without Micah Parsons. There's no doubt about that. But you got a lot of reasons you can believe to adapt. Like that's where I'm at with it. Jeff Hafley is somebody who's being talked about as a head coaching candidate for a reason. The dude's not just good at using Micah Parsons. He's good at being a defensive coordinator. So this is where that guy shines or needs to shine. And the pieces that he has at his disposal are pretty dang good, right? You like I said, still have Xavier McKinney. You still have Quay Walker. You still have Edge Cooper. You still, insert a lot of them. Like the pass rush it's not gone, right? LVN was having a great season before he got hurt, so hopefully he can return to that. Usually when the guys read the tweets, they respond well, and he's been reading the tweets. So, maybe he has a big game here against Chicago, but they got to all rise up. It's got to be next man up mentality. That's what it was when you won a Super Bowl before and you led the league and I think players on IR, I believe it was. You got to have next man up mentality. So that's hopefully what we see here. And again, they own Chicago. They love going to Chicago. Rent is due. We got to go collect. So I think that'll be the mentality this week, and we'll see how that plays out. I'll give you one. He says, y'all don't sound confident at all. The Black Bear podcast. Listen, man, we just lost Micah Parsons. Like, we're not going to be out here calling Super Bowl shots after you lose Micah Parsons. Like, we got to talk ourselves into it a little bit. But it's going to be a game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm 100% confident the Packers win this game. I am confident they can win. I'm confident that they will, but it's going to be tough. It's not easy. This is a tough assignment, and we hope they can adapt. If they can't adapt, it might get real ugly, So we got to stay confident. We do have to stay confident, but just because we're not confident doesn't mean the players aren't confident. Don't take my attitude to reflect as what the players are. I fully expect that these guys are all business and take their business trips to Chicago as serious as any. So, I think it's going to be another classic installation of this rivalry, man. We should all hope for that. We love this Packers-Bears rivalry. The oldest, the OG of rivals, guys. Like, come on now. Love it. Love me some Packers-Bears rivalry, even though y'all been not holding up your end of the deal for like 20 years. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, if y'all had a good time with us this evening, go ahead and spike that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button as well. Even you Bears fans, come on back, hang out. Maybe we'll have some crosstalk here after the game or something. But you guys come hang out with us. We're streaming live every Monday night at 9:30 on the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel, and of course we're out there on the Twitter X machine doing all the different banter, so you can catch us there too if you need a little extra. But yeah. We're having fun here. We're gonna keep the vibes high. The Packers are still there's still a lot to enjoy here. Let's not forget how miserable the offseason is for everybody, because nobody gets good football in the offseason. So just remember that. We got football games to watch, and we should be very happy about that. So here we are. We're optimistic. The sky is not falling, and we're gonna go beat the Bears because they still suck. So on that note, appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the subscribers, all the chats, all you guys hanging out with us every week. Again, hit that subscribe button. And, of course, as always, go Pack.